My name is Mahmoud Ahmadi, and on behalf of campaign against honor killing, we are interviewing Homa Arjomand. Homa Arjomand is the coordinator of campaign against honor killing, and also she's the coordinator of campaign against Sharia court in Canada. Homa Arjomand, thank you so much for accepting our invitation to have this discussion regarding honor killing.
Thank you.
On June 30th, 2009, 3 of Shafia's daughters and his wife's body were discovered at the bottom of river in Kingston. This crime shook Canada and also the world. We are having Homa Arjomand to talk about this crime. Homa Arjomand, could you please explain how is possible a father kill his own daughters?
It's possible, it's been done, and that's the reality of today's society. If we keep quiet and nobody pays any attention to this kind of horrific crime, it will happen again and again. Something that humanity has to rise up and go against it harshly is this type of crimes, such as honor killing. In reality, the father was ashamed of the activity of their 3 children, as well as the first wife, or the wife, he was living in polygamous relationship, and the only way he could clean up according to his tradition and according to his way of living and custom is to get rid of the 3 who were bringing shame into the family. This is what we are against for, and this is why we're running a campaign, and I think we have to do serious action in this regard. We've been running this campaign since 2003 internationally. We've been going door to door, school to school, and running workshops and running panel discussions, as well as running various conferences against it. The public is already aware about this kind of crimes. Now we have to do something further. We have to challenge the government to do something very important and basic, and that's to make sure that these kind of families would integrate within the society or greater society, so that they would not feel that any kind of behavior of the children, if they act as a westernized citizens, they should be punished and they should be killed in order to keep their honor, in order to keep their honors. So this is what we are focusing on.
So what is the role of multiculturalism, religion, and culture in this crime?
It has a very high role in this matter. In fact, we believe and we condemning the multiculturalism and cultural relativism because of the room that gives to this culture to grow, and also the room that gives to this culture to commit such a crime. In our opinion, multiculturalism comes with a big, huge package, and that is when the government adopt this kind of policy as a legal policy, means that they're spending such a lot of money. We're talking about millions of dollars. They're spending to educate the police officers, to educate the teachers, the nurses, the doctors, the counselors, you name it, how to become sensitive towards other culture. Even if this culture, if they are quite aware that if this culture is anti-woman, even if they realize that this culture is something that it has to be thrown out into the garbage bin because it belongs to the 7th century, even if they realize that in this culture women are considered second or third class citizen, if woman abuse is just routine in this culture, or if the child abuse is something so normal, or if they realize that gay and lesbian have no word, no saying in this matter at all, and as soon as they realize it's gay or lesbian, their punishment would be whatever they can do to vanish that person from the earth. And this is what's happening. And the other thing that multiculturalism is doing, makes the government obliged to not only train the police officers and nurses and doctors and a school system to be sensitive towards this culture, but also when it comes to the crimes such as this, it would lighten, it would water down. They would not call it murder. They will call it honor killing. It's something to adopt or to save their honor. So therefore, when it comes to the real punishment, instead of putting the accused person, the murderer, into a jail, it would be a short time, because the crime is happening in a group. Usually it's happening in a group, or the youngest person of the family will commit such a crime. The other thing the multiculturalism is doing in reality is because of this sensitivity. When the child goes to the system and complains about the abuse, when the police arrives to the door, the same as what Giti, the 13-year-old girl, who complained to the teacher about the abuse and the way she was treated, and so as her other sisters and their aunt, or so-called aunt, because it was the first wife of the father. The teacher notified the Children Society, notified the police, but the reality was, when police reached to the door and they realized that they come from Afghanistan, the most they did, instead of arresting him, instead of putting an order in place, which means restraining order for the father not to come close to the child or children within 500 meters up to he receives some help and support from the system, receives some kind of counseling from the system, and instead of sending the children for counseling, what they did, the most they did was they talked to the father and said, here is Canada, you better behave yourself and not to touch your children. And that's it. If it wasn't for the purpose of multiculturalism, none of this would have happened. If it wasn't for multiculturalism policy in this country, for sure police would have treated Giti exactly the same as any other Canadian child who complains about abuse, and immediately the investigation would happen, Children's Society would involve, so as police would involve, and for sure the father would be arrested, for sure a restraining order would be in place, for sure they would all go for counseling. But none of this happened. In fact, not once, not twice, not 3 times police was involved in this matter, because the older sister complained, the second sister complained, and in all those 3 cases police was involved too. But what happened? The sensitivity, the cultural relativism, it prevented police to do their actual job. It prevented them to do or issue an arrest. It prevented them to do something serious, because Mr. Shafia was from Afghanistan, and his culture, and according to his culture, he has every right to control women, to control his 2 wives, and to control his 7 children. Control means even if he has to use of power of physically hitting them, or if they have to take the children out of school and keeping them at home. And the oldest daughter, Zainab, was kept at home for a whole year. But no agency got involved, no police got involved, no school contacted no one from this school contacted the father to find out what's happening to this child. He didn't attend the school for a whole year, nobody knew why. So these kind of things are happening, and this is only one. It's a tip of the, it's a famous thing, it's a tip of the...
Right. You are opposing multiculturalism, but right now we see a big trend in Western government, a racist policy, and we see a big trend against newcomers and immigrants. What is the difference between your position regarding multiculturalism and that anti-immigrant and anti-refugees policy that those governments
It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. We talking on the sake of, or for the benefit of child's and children's right and the woman's right and gay or lesbians' right. We're talking about equality between men and women. We're talking about being treated, all the citizens who are living in one country go under one law, doesn't matter, and that's the law of their land. And we're talking about bringing a kind of comfort, integration, and knowing this child exists. We are preventing child trafficking for the sake of marriage, and this is happening in Canada, and the child is taken out of the country because she's come from Bangladesh or Pakistan or Afghanistan or Iran for the sake of getting married to a man 20, 30. No children aid society is getting involved. Government doesn't care about this. So we're talking about the child's right in every avenue. We're talking about women's right. Of course, there's a huge difference. That's racism, and our approach is for the public, for every citizen to be considered as a citizen, or every person to be considered as a citizen of the land of this country and be treated exactly equal. That's the difference.
Some believe that honor killing as a domestic violence. Why you don't consider honor killing as a domestic violence?
So simple. Honor killing has every characteristics of honor killing, and domestic violence has every characteristic of its own. In domestic violence, an abuser would target a victim, and he might even hire a hitman to kill that victim. In this case, it has happened, or he may actually himself kill the victim. But in reality, the abuser is ashamed of whatever he did. The abuser would never ever go to the other members of his family and say, I'm aiming to kill that person, because he is ashamed of his action. The society would reject him. They would call him a murderer. And the woman or a victim has a choice to make, can go towards use the system and can integrate within another part of the local or national or province and live free. But in case of honor killing, the reality is the woman, she has no choice. She cannot leave the abuser. But as soon as she decides to leave the abuser, she would be disowned, not only by the accused or by the abuser, but also by every member of her own family, as well as every member of her own so-called society, because they are isolated. Multiculturalism has put a great, huge wall around this community, and therefore she would bring a shame among these communities. So therefore she be disowned by this community, and that's the difference. And also the abuser would run a tribunal at home. They would all decide whether they should get rid of this person or not, and they all decide how to get rid of this person. So it's a decision made by the family in general, while in domestic violence the decision is made by one person, and that's the abuser. In honor killing, the decision is made by the whole other members of family except the one who is the victim, and that's the difference between them. And the only way we can get rid of this honor killing is to make a reform, in a legal reform, and that would be to vanish, to destroy multiculturalism and cultural relativism with all its package, and as well as not to spend a penny towards any culture, a part of the main majority culture, and to build their center, to build their own mosque, their own church, their own whatever it is. And the only way we can do that to go towards integration. In this way we would vanish all these backward cultures and traditions that they all really belong to 7th century, not this century.
Homa Arjomand, what are you trying to achieve through your campaign against honor killing?
This campaign against honor killing, is a political campaign. The aim is not only bringing awareness among the populations, not only in Canada, internationally too, because this is a problem, international problem, and we have to face it, we have to do something serious about it, but also our campaign is trying hard to bring reform into legal policy of Canada, as well as in the West. So our aim is to make sure that the policy of multiculturalism would be amended towards integration, and this is what we're trying to achieve.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much.